Todd McShay just released his 2021 NFL mock draft. There were a few surprises, and it's actually kind of tough to do a mock draft now. Just in general, with everything going on in college football, you had the postponement of the Pac-12 and Big Ten just season going to the spring. The draft could be potentially pushed back to June 2nd. So we have really no idea what the offseason process is even going to look like for the draft. There's a lot in limbo at this moment, so it's kind of hard to anticipate anything, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do my own mock draft because that's what I do here. But I'm Steven Gardell, better known as What's Crackalackin', and it's your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know, so go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoy the video. It's always much appreciated, much obliged. Here, if you're not new here, you know I like me some coffee. Sip, sip, delicious. You know who else likes coffee? Chris freaking Johnson. That's right, CJ2K himself. He wants you to go on Instagram and check out Just Love Coffee. They got some great roasts there, and yeah, I implore you to check it out. Speaking of Chris Johnson, he will be on the premiere tomorrow of Fan to Fan Network on Twitch. If you don't know where to look, I got links in the description. It might be the pinned comment. So just check that out. Chris Johnson will be on there, and then following Chris Johnson is probably me. So you go from Chris Johnson to freaking Bro Schmo himself. I know, banger after banger, right? But let's go ahead. Let's get into this. I'm using Todd McShay's draft order because it only feels right. So we're going to start with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence. Let's be honest. I love Uncle Rico. I know you do too. But if they're drafting first overall, they're probably going quarterback. That's just the case. So Trevor Lawrence, the guy, he has ridiculous traits. He's just a banger of a quarterback, prototypical size, great arm talent. So yeah, he's probably undisputedly at the current moment the number one. The Washington football team here at 2, they go Justin Fields at Ohio State. Yes, even if Justin Fields just decides to take the 2020 season, he opts out and just goes to prepare for the draft, he's going to be a top 2 pick. Him and Lawrence are 1 and 2. But you might be like, but what about Dwayne Haskins? He probably had a terrible year, or he was hurt if they're drafted at number 2. And if Riverboat Ron is in a position where it's like, oh, man, this is a rough season, we're literally the 2nd overall pick. Yeah, I think I'm going to pick the quarterback that I want, opposed to the one that I was presented to me when I took the job. So that's just how football typically works. So yeah. And then the Cincinnati Bengals, they go PENEI Sewell out of Oregon. The dude's a banger. Can you imagine? You could kick Jonah Williams back to the right side. Him and Sewell would be one of the scariest young tackle tandems in all of football. You got Burrow weapons. Now you got him some protection. The Carolina Panthers, they go Jamar Chase out of LSU. Honestly, it's a little too rich for me to go quarterback with this pick with Trey Lance, especially if he ends up just opting out. I don't think he's done enough to put himself right there with Fields and Lawrence. So I'm going with reuniting Chase and Joe Brady because boy, oh boy, man, what reunited, and it feels so good. And Chase, they don't have a receiver on that roster that has a similar skill set as Chase. I mean, Robbie Anderson don't, DJ Moore don't, and Curtis Samuel does not. So they get Chase, who's he plays like a big-bodied receiver. Don't sleep on him. He's got some good speed. He's one of the best contested catch artists there. The dude just had a banger of a 2019, and we'll probably see a little regression, but it's not really regression. It's just he probably won't get thrown to as much. You gotta remember that LSU team in 2019 was something of a fairy tale. The Miami Dolphins, I got them going MICAH Parsons out of Penn State. I would have loved to gone Chase or Sewell with this pick, but they're not available. So I'm just going best available, best value, or yeah, best available. Yeah, I'm going best available. There we go. And that would be Parsons. He's an athletic freak, and I think he could kind of play like a Jamie Collins role if this defense is going to be anything like the Patriots defense. So, because the Dolphins don't really have a pass rusher in the linebacking core. I mean, they don't really have much of a pass rusher in general, but I think Parsons, he's a lot better than people think. He only rushed the passer 87 times last year, and he came up with 23 pressures. So yeah, dude, the dude is pretty darn good, pretty darn excellent. So Dolphins, they just go best available here. They don't necessarily need a linebacker, but I don't think there's anyone at this point more worthy of this pick than Parsons. The New York Giants, I got them going Patrick Surtain out of Alabama, and this is in part, Surtain's going to be the only one playing football this fall. Caleb Farley, he opted out, so honestly, until we see him again, it's going to be hard to put him back at the #1 corner, I think, for some people. Shaun Wade, he only had 12 snaps last season on the outside, and he's not playing next season. So what is he, a slot? Is he probably going to be viewed more as a safety? So that leaves Patrick Surtain as the lone remaining top corner, in my opinion, in this draft. We all know the situation with DeAndre Baker doesn't sound good. Sam Beal, he opted out he's opting out for the 2020 season, leaving the likes of Corey Valentine and Grant Haley, who ain't all that great. But next to James Bradbury, I think they should probably upgrade that position, because you still don't know what you have in Sam Beal. That's just a big question mark. You've kind of had back-to-back seasons where it's like he hasn't really played much. So they go with Surtain, who his biggest concern is speed, but the guy still plays at an elite level. He's only allowed 2 games where he allowed 60+ yards, and he started since his freshman year, or at least he's seen significant playing time since his freshman year. He's one of the best deep ball defenders. The guy's just really, really good, and he does it in a stinking conference that's really, really good, the SEC. So he's battle tested, he's tried, he's true. So they go Surtain. The Detroit Lions, they're going Gregory Rousseau out of Miami. You might be like, well, we just got Julian Okwara. We have Trey Flowers. Why would we go edge? Well, this was a tough one for me. I was kind of like tossing between this and receiver. Maybe even going interior. Like, they could have gone a lot of different ways. But I like the idea of bringing in Rousseau, who he opted out, which sucks. I really wanted to see him play this year and see if he got better, or if his technique got a little more refined, because he was just kind of he got all that production just based on raw ability. It wasn't so much of this bevy of pass rush moves he has. So, I mean, again, that's not saying he can't learn those, you know, while opting out. But it would be nice to see it, you know, in an actual game. But he's got, like I said, guy's got huge athletic upside, got freaky length. So why I like the idea of maybe seeing Julian Okwara. I know they got Jamie Collins on the roster, but he can definitely serve as a Jamie Collins. Like, so they got Jamie Collins for 2 years. I think eventually Julian Okwara, he takes that spot, because the guy is super athletic in his own right. So he can play a bit off the line, off linebacker. So you now have a scary pass rush and just tandem of Trey Flowers, Julian Okwara, Gregory Rousseau. So yeah, you're kind of set at the edge. Then I got the New York Jets. They're here at 8, taking Shaun Wade out of Ohio State. This one was tough, but I thought I think the idea of if you consider Shaun Wade more of a safety at this point, because like I said, he's only played 12 snaps on the outside. We're not seeing him play fall football. So I think he has to be viewed as a slot safety combo, a guy who's been very good around the line of scrimmage. He's a very solid run defender in his own right. So now they get it. Didn't the Jets just trade away a guy that it was kind of a beast around the line of scrimmage? They did in Jamal Adams. So they grabbed Shaun Wade, who kind of fills that role, maybe not necessarily to that degree, but he's also capable potentially of playing outside corner. So you kind of get this, I guess, 3 for 1. Like, okay, we could try him at a variety of positions here, because guess what? We need him all. So I thought, okay, that it's not all bad. I think it's a solid pick here. Las Vegas Raiders, they go Trey Lance out of North Dakota State. Where is he transferring? No one knows. But if the Raiders are picking the top 10, they will probably want a quarterback. So Trey Lance, he's got a freaking cannon for an arm. He's got wheels for days. The guy is one of the most mobile and athletic quarterbacks in this draft. I really hope he gets to move to a Power 5 school. I guess at this point, the Power 3 that are playing. Because I think he could definitely get in that argument with who the top quarterback is when it comes to Fields and Lawrence. If you can play like he has against really good competition, I think you can't dispute that fact anymore, you know? But, yeah, Raiders, if you're picking in the top 10, move on from your Carr, move on from your Mariota. Time to grab a Lance. At 10, I got the Arizona Cardinals going. Christian Barmore out of Alabama. The Cardinals, they could go a variety of ways, but I elected to go with grabbing someone because they got a lot of good, decent youngsters on the defensive line. But I don't think none of them have the potential of Barmore. And I actually decided to go with Barmore over Marvin Wilson, despite Barmore only having a small sample size. His athletic upside is much greater than Wilson's. And actually, that small sample size was pretty darn good what we saw from him. He was very effective as both a run stopper and a pass rusher. So if he could do it throughout the season, I think he will probably jump Wilson as the top defensive interior. At 11, the Chargers, they're going with Rondale Moore out of Purdue. They could have gone offensive tackle here, depending on how Trey Pipkins, who I assume they want to be their left tackle, develops in year 2. But they really don't have a exciting playmaker at wide receiver. They got a bunch of guys that can move the chains. That's about it. And you could say, whoa, Mike Williams, he's always making those downfield catches. He's a big body vertical target. Yeah, but not a lot of that. There's not much after the catch with him. He'll come down with the catch, but he ain't going much where after that. So I think they bring in a guy who is electric, who is excited with the ball in his hands, who does get those yards after contact, yards after the catch, and that's Rondale Moore. Granted, he's only played like 150 snaps. Granted, by the time he is being drafted, like it had been like almost 2 years, like since he's played any significant snaps. So it'll be the 150 from the 2019 season. He did play like 900 some in the 2018, where he had 37 broken tackles off receptions, which was most in college football, 1,258 yards, 12 touchdowns. But I think him opting out, like off it before the postponement of the Big Ten, says a lot. This says this: I don't really need to play at Purdue, unfortunately. Like, it's not like we're winning anything. So I'm gonna focus on trying to do better receiving things, because at Purdue he was just kind of a short to intermediate threat. I'm sure he's like, hey, I got some speed, I could be a vertical guy. So, but this guy is just a freaking just monster with the ball in his hands. I don't think the Chargers have any they don't have anyone like that. And if Justin Herbert's your future, I think having the tandem of Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Rondale Moore, and if you want to throw KJ Hill in there, I think that's just a freaking phenomenal squad right there. Denver Broncos, they're going Alex Leatherwood out of Alabama. They've had a tough run on tackles with Garrett Bowles just being a penalty machine. And then Jawan James, who's played a whole 63 snaps in his first 2 seasons with the squad. Because keep in mind, he's opted out this year. So I think they'll probably opt to go tackle here. Leatherwood, he isn't as explosive as the guys from the 2020 season. But the dude's production, like from that standpoint, is on par with those guys, if not better. He only allowed 1 sack last year, and it came to Clavon Chazon. The guy was a first-round pick in his own right. Leatherwood, he's a phenomenal pass protector. He was penalized a little bit, but if you can work on that, the guy has a career at left tackle, just being like, nah, not my quarterback. You ain't getting there. And that's kind of what the Denver Broncos need, because they're trying to keep their boy Drew Lock upright. The Atlanta Falcons, I got them going Carlos Basham Jr. out of Wake Forest. They brought in Dante Fowler this offseason because they needed someone to rush on the outside. They said ta-ta to Vic Beasley. I imagine McKinley, they're going to be saying ta-ta to him soon because he's been a bit of a bust at this point. And we don't really know exactly what a guy I'm kind of high on is John Kaminsky. We don't know what he can do because he really hasn't been given the snaps. So I think they go with Basham, who's got exceptional explosiveness for a guy that's 275, and it would make one of the scariest D-lines in the league with Fowler, with Grady Jarrett, with Marlon Davidson, and you could throw Tyler Davidson in there too because he's probably going to be a good rotation player. And now you got Carlos Basham. That's a pretty scary defensive line. F14, the Chicago Bears, they're going to go with Walker Little out of Stanford. No quarterback, I think, available here that's worth taking. So instead, they address the offensive tackle position that's been kind of bad recently. At least last year was with Charles Leno and Bobby Massey. They allowed 61 combined pressures, 16 penalties. Keep in mind, Massey didn't even play the whole season. So I think they opt to go grab a tackle with Little. He's a phenomenal run blocker, and he showed some progression as a pass protector at the tail end of the 2018 season, and you saw that in the opener versus Northwestern. Only thing is, unfortunately, he got hurt, and then he was we were looking forward to seeing a full healthy season of him. Then the Pac-12 decided to push their sinking season back, so everything's kind of in limbo with him, but arrows were pointed in the right direction when it came to Walker Little. So here he is at 14. And then 15, the Miami Dolphins get this pick via Houston, and they're going Jalen Waddle out of Alabama. This is kind of one of my favorite projections. I just love the idea of reunited, and it feels so good. Tua and Waddle, I think that's a deadly combination. The Dolphins, they don't really have anyone as of now that excels in the slot, and Waddle could be that guy. Only CeeDee Lamb was ranked higher when it came to yards in the slot and passer rating when targeted in the slot. The Waddle, he's very dynamic, very good player with the ball in his hands. The Cleveland Browns, they're going Marvin Wilson out of Florida State. Wilson, he was kind of falling down the board here. I just couldn't pass up on the value. And you could probably be like, well, don't they have Andrew Billings? I mean, granted, he opted out for the 2020 season. Larry Ogunjobi, who had a bit of a up and down year last year. He's probably going to be taking that role this year. But I don't think neither of those guys come close in terms of Wilson's raw power and technique. The guy really proved to be a very good pass rusher last year. Like I said, the value's just there. The guy's probably more so a top 10, top 15 pick, and here you are at 16. I say just snag him up. The Jacksonville Jaguars, this pick is from the Rams. Thank you for Jalen Ramsey, right? And they're actually going Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. I mean, you can't let this guy fall any further. I know the Jags, they just got a new quarterback in Trevor Lawrence in this draft. So you could get him protection, you could get him weapons, or you could help that secondary that's far from finished. They did get CJ Henderson last year, but do you think really Trey Herndon and Rashawn Melvin, who opted out 2020 year, are, I don't know, do you think those guys are worthy of the cornerback 2? I don't think so. Farley, yes, he is a bit of a one-year wonder because his production in 2018 was kind of up and down, but the guy's got elite size, speed. He was a shutdown corner in 2019, don't get that wrong, and it's hard to pass up a guy with those elite cornerback traits, because that's why they got CJ Henderson. Imagine Caleb Farley. That's a very scary secondary duo there. It's like it would probably be like Jalen Ramsey and AJ Boye never left. Remember that? Good times. Green Bay Packers, they're doing what they should have done. They got Rashod Bateman out of Minnesota here. Bateman, the dude outshined his teammate Tyler Johnson, so much so he beat Johnson, who probably was gonna be a second to third rounder, I think to like the 5th round. I can't remember off the top of my head, my apologies, but yeah, the guy, he averaged what, 22 or 20.3 yards per catch. He had the 3rd highest rate of 15 yards plus on catches from the outside. He was just really good. Devontae Adams, he's kind of like, where's my number 2? Instead, you got like this stinking carousel of guys that are trying to be the competent number 2 to Devontae Adams. They just get a receiver. Just grab a receiver. Bam. Should have done it last year. Tennessee Titans, I got them going. Chris Rumph out of Duke. He has put Rumph, I'm so happy. He put on weight. He's 235 now. Still needs to add weight if he wants to be a full-time pass rusher, though. Now, the reason why I got him going to Tennessee is because Vic Beasley, he's kind of had a rough start. He's only on a 1-year deal. Let's just get a replacement for him now. Rumph, his pressure rate and win rate off the edge was rivaled by stinking Chase Young. And this guy, he's actually extremely powerful. And he's got some good length. Chris Rumph, very much the dark horse in this draft. And he can play a bit off ball if you need him to. He can play that Vic Beasley role very easily. So I like Rumph here for this pick. The Indianapolis Colts, they're going Kyle Pitts out of Florida. The Colts, all season, they decided to move on from Eric Ebron, and they kind of hope that Trey Burton or Mo Alley Cox can fill in that role next to Jack Doyle. Forget that. Let's just upgrade the position as a whole, because Kyle Pitts is freaking deadly. He's like just a jumbo receiver at tight end. I don't think we've seen receiving talent like this. And I mean, you saw Travis Kelce, you saw George Kittle just get paid. So the NFL, they want to find tight ends that have that receiving ability. Kyle Pitts is the closest thing we've had in a long time in the draft. So I think they just go ahead, they upgrade the position as a whole. I think the Colts are going to be moving more towards 3 wide receiver sets opposed to the 2 tight end sets anyway. So would you rather have essentially a 4th receiver on the field in those 3 wide receiver sets in Kyle Pitts? I think so. The guy's that good. He led tight ends in yards of separation, tested catches. Like I said, he's just that darn good. He's like another receiver on the field. At 21, Minnesota, they're going to get Javon Holland out of Oregon. I think with no long-term deal done with Anthony Harris, there's a real chance that they might need a replacement for him next offseason. And I love Holland, whether it was single high, which he played a majority of his freshman season, or slot, which he played a majority of his sophomore year. He just excelled in coverage. He was very good. He was a playmaker. He's got probably the best instincts in this draft at the safety position. So I just assume they won't be able to get a deal done with Anthony Harris, so they choose to replace him. Pittsburgh Steelers, they go Brock Purdy out of Iowa State. This is another one of my favorite projections just because Big Ben, he's kind of long in the tooth. He needs an heir apparent. It ain't Mason Rudolph. It ain't Duck Dynasty Hodges. Let's grab Brock Purdy because, yeah, he might lack a little bit in as far as arm talent, but he is one of the most accurate quarterbacks when it comes to inside or outside the pocket in college football. He is a gunslinger. He elevates the team around him. He's playing at Iowa State. He doesn't got a lot of talent around him, but he elevates them. They have had back-to-back winning seasons. Brock Purdy's a winner. He's a gunslinger. My heart goes to you, Brock Purdy. But yeah, I like him here for this pick. Buffalo Bills, they go Pat Freiermuth out of Penn State. The Bills, they don't really have many holes to fill, so I kind of like to go tight end because Dawson Knox, he was okay last year, but he did have 9 drops. And Freiermuth is just an upgrade. He's just an upgrade in general. He has a bigger catch radius. He's more deadly after the catch. It's not like he's got moves. He just bowls you over. And he's probably among the best blockers in this draft. So I think he just kind of has Dawson Knox edged out. So if you can upgrade from that, you upgrade from that. And at 24, the New York Jets get this pick via Seattle. They're going Devontae Smith out of Alabama. Sam Darnold, plain and simple, the dude needs weapons. He's got Denzel Mims, which we don't even know what we have in Denzel Mims yet, but he's kind of a big contest catch guy with long field speed. There's Jamison Crowder in the slot, but he's more of a take what is given to him type of receiver. Rashad Perriman, he's just a stopgap guy, 1-year deal, stopgap guy. So they go with Smith, who, despite his thin frame and weight, he gets off a press very easily. He is one of the most physical guys at the catch point, and he only had 3 drops over the last 2 seasons. So, yeah, maybe not half bad. At 25, Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going Travis Etienne out of Clemson. Honestly, I love Etienne. He's one of my favorite picks. Or like running backs in this draft. Like one of my favorite prospects in this draft. I would be willing to spend a late first round pick on Etienne. And I'm not big on drafting running backs in the first round, but I think Etienne is worth it. I assume the Bucks are not satisfied with Ronald Jones, because then you could be like, why sign Shady McCoy? Why draft Keyshawn Vaughn? So I like to grab one in the first round because I think he's potentially better than all those guys. He's a home run threat. He proved to be a great pass catcher and playmaker. He's one of the most evasive running backs in college football, most elusive. The guy, he's got wheels. He's great. I love, much like Brock Purdy has my heart, Travis Etienne has my heart. And the New England Patriots, they're going Dylan Moses out of Alabama for the 26th pick. Let's be honest, this pick's getting traded, but who knows? Who knows? It's the New England Patriots. Really, really, who knows? But since I can't trade here or even fathom what's in the mind of Bill Belichick, I'll try to make a pick, and I think Moses is kind of good value here. Granted, I'd like to see him play 2020 before I really move him up my board, but he's a sideline-to-sideline athlete. He was kind of viewed as that before tearing the ACL in 2019. We'll finally get to see what he can do, but he can start alongside Dante Hightower and eventually replace Dante Hightower. That's kind of the role I see for Dylan Moses if they decide to go there. At 27, the Philadelphia Eagles go Xavier Thomas out of Clemson. Derek Barnett, he hasn't really been able to recapture at least the production of his rookie season. So I think they just kind of get a pass rusher with a similar style of Barnett with more athletic and more physical upside. I like Thomas. His production was kind of hindered because of the scheme with Clemson, where they were running just like 3 down linemen, 1 linebacker, and then 7 guys in the secondary. He was routinely asked to play in the B gap, so he often had to face double teams rather than, you know, being kicked out onto the edge and have those one-on-ones. So I think his production kind of suffered just because what was asked of him. He got, like I said, big upside. And that freshman season was pretty solid. And at 28, the Dallas Cowboys go Trevon Moehrig out of TCU. One of my favorite, actually, this is a pretty good safety class. There's a lot of guys I really like. But Moehrig, he's very physical. He'll meet you at the catch point and knock your lights out. He'll pop the ball out. He only allowed a completion rate of 32% when targeted. And the Cowboys, both Xavier Woods and HaHa Clinton Dix are free agents. I kind of assume they'll probably just go with Woods, and they'll try to grab maybe a safety in the draft, perhaps. Maybe someday. They've kind of flirted with trying to get safeties. I think it's time to make a move, Cowboys. The San Francisco 49ers, they're going Wyatt Davis out of Ohio State. The Niners, they love to run the ball, and Wyatt Davis, I think, could go a lot higher than this. Just unfortunately, Ohio State, their season's postponed. And Wyatt Davis, I think he kind of has Quentin Nelson potential. He was a phenomenal run blocker. He allowed no sacks over the course of 400 true pass sets. So he's got elite production, and he would be an upgrade over Tom Compton or Lakin Tomlin. So that's how I see it. And at 30, the Baltimore Ravens go Creed Humphrey out of Oklahoma. I get a feel that Creed Humphrey, while I kind of have him more as like a mid-second to late second rounder, I feel like he's going to go a lot higher. And I can't really dispute that because the guy, he's probably going to move to guard because of his height. Where he got beat last year was only a couple of games, mainly that Bravion Roy game against Baylor, where he was out leveraged. Like, guys were able to get under him and then outpower him. And you'd quickly look at that and be like, oh, he needs to get stronger. I think it was a height thing. So move him to guard, where he doesn't have to put his doesn't necessarily have a slower get up before he's hit at the point of attack than he would be at center. Because the guy, he's got strong hands. He's a former wrestler. He's a very good pass protector. And it's not like that poor, I don't want to say even poor effort. It's not like that bad performance. They came in spurts. You know, they came in like one game here and then one game here. And it seemed to be the same thing. I think he's just too tall to play center. So, yeah, the Ravens, they have a slew of guys that are trying to that they have at guard that they're going to try to replace Marshall Yanda with. If none of those work out, I think Creed Humphrey is a solid pick. And then the New Orleans Saints here at 31 go Tamorrion Terry out of Florida State. If you know me, you know I love him. I think he could be a top 10 to 15 pick. I think right now, realistically, he's probably closer to the late first round until we actually see him play. But the Saints, they brought in Emmanuel Sanders because of the inconsistencies behind Michael Thomas. So I don't think they're done upgrading that position necessarily with Terry. They get a guy who just put on 15 pounds of muscle this like from the course of January to March. Because he's heard what people have said. I have trouble with press. Not no more. Not if you think so. I didn't think he had trouble with press. But the dude's just a big vertical threat. And he's just a threat with the ball in his hands in general. Saints, I think, would love to have him. And then the Kansas City Chiefs, they go Samuel Cosmi out of Texas. You're like, they don't need a tackle. Well, this is more so like just great value. Cosmi could go a lot higher than this, and I think he's just great value here. I always say address need in free agency and draft value. And this is just a valuable pick. I mean, he could be a future replacement for Eric Fisher, he's been fine at left tackle. But like I said, it's a value pick. Cosme, he's very battle tested. He has almost over 600 true pass sets last season, which if you don't know, true pass sets typically are indicative of how well a tackle do in the NFL. So yeah, he's got some of the best movement skills. It's a great value pick. I don't know what else to tell you, but that's it for the video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, until we meet again, we can tomorrow. I'll be there on FTFN. Check it out on Twitch. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.